Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Fox298 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of my F1 2020 My Team career mode for you guys today here on the channel. Today we're here for round number 20, which is the Mexican Grand Prix. And let's get straight into today's episode, where unfortunately, we're already going to have to start on the back foot. Now, somehow, and I just genuinely am a bit confused by it, our gearbox wear has been much higher on this gearbox that we're currently running compared to my previous gearbox. My previous gearbox managed to actually do the entire 6 races before we had an issue with it then in Italy late stages, and then I was able to change it, whereas this gearbox that I'm currently running now, I think it's only done like 4, 5 races, probably 4 races I think it is, and it's already, worn out, which is a bit of a pain, but you know, it is what it is. But if you end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, as we try and push towards 20,000 subscribers. And as you can see, I was having a little look at the driver market because I'm kind of interested in, a couple of drivers out there. So, as the gearbox is on 74%, and it did take a battering in the last race in USA, as it also we lost 5th gear, I couldn't afford for that to happen again. So, I've decided to go ahead and take the 5-place grid penalty for today's race. On the plus side, though, we do get our major engine upgrade finally come onto our car, which does mean we are no longer the slowest car in the power unit section. We've shot back up again in front of many of our rivals, which is absolutely great. And we can now move forwards with a power unit, which is going to be a lot better. So it can give me and Aiken a little bit better speed, which is exactly what we've been looking for. Now, heading into Mexico. Practice felt very, very nice. I'd found a setup for me when I was just messing around with some setups that really worked nicely. I was having a lot of fun driving around this track. I don't normally enjoy Mexico, but ever since I started late F1 2019 running with only ABS as my only assist that I run with, if you were interested in that, by the way, I run with ABS on and nothing else. Ever since I swapped to just that, Mexico's been a track which I've actually enjoyed, and as you can see, I mean, Q1 kind of paves the way for that, and Jack Aiken, in fairness, does get out of Q1 just a 10th of a second behind Sebastian Vettel, so promising signs up ahead, but I just felt so comfortable with the car and the track, and I'd also made a lot of changes as well to set up with tyre temperatures as well, because I remember tyre temperatures being a bit of a pain on this circuit. It's towards Q2 then, and the rain is coming down, and we needed to get our lap out very, very quickly, and we do so going a 10th shy of Sebastian Vettel, and I was happy enough that was going to get me through into Q3. I didn't know when the rain was going to clear. I was constantly checking it, and the rain just got heavier, and eventually then, we actually set the exact same time as Charles Leclerc, but we managed to qualify in front of him, so shout out to our same times. Fortunately for Aiken though, it wasn't enough, so I presume he's probably gone out a little bit late, but Albon there and Bottas both getting knocked out then in Q2, so they got caught out in that wet weather conditions, which is going to really hurt them. In towards Q3 though, we've currently just set, I believe we set the fastest middle sector of anybody so far. So in this final sector though, back end's a little bit squirmish on the exit, but now as we come towards the start finish line, where can we put ourselves out on the grid for the Mexican Grand Prix? We cross the start finish line, it is going to be on the front row of the grid, of course with the 5-place grid penalty. That does mean we're going to be starting back down in P7, but it's a fantastic qualifying session, formally solidifying that we have got some very, very good pace here at the Autodrome Hermanos Rodriguez, which is absolutely amazing for us. Big up to Daniel Ricciardo getting P4 for Renault there, but the car felt brilliant in this session, and we're going to take, obviously, the 5-place grid penalty, but at the end of the day, it's actually not a bad thing considering where we are qualifying. It just means that we've got good pace, and we should be able to get on with the job. And again, she's wanted us to talk about racing points, so I just said, you know, you better focus on me, woman, alright? I don't care about any of the other teams, I care about myself. Annoyingly, obviously, Leclerc gets pole, so he does beat us in the qualifying battle there, and he's now almost double the amount of points that we've got so far, 14-8 in his favour, which is a little bit of a bummer, but without further ado, guys, let's get straight into it. It's time for the race for the Mexican Grand Prix.
Welcome along to the most popular city in North America, and home now to the Mexico City Grand Prix. It's a sellout crowd as usual here at one of the shortest circuits on the Formula One calendar. So who, I wonder, will the crowd cheer on today to the top step of the podium? The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour. and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right and the remaining 7 going to the left. Alongside me once again for coverage of today's race, it's none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Can we talk about Mercedes? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo. A strong showing from the Australian. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Vettel, Thomas. They've taken a grid penalty, and Ocon, Perez, Raikkonen, Bottas, and Carlos Sainz. Fiat, Norris, Max Verstappen, and Stroll, Albon, Magnussen, Romain Grosjean, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Russell, Latifi, Aitken, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot today. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Right, so we're on the grid then to start the Mexican Grand Prix. It's going to be a two-slot strategy, soft, soft, medium. And crucially, our 5-place grid penalty has now been reduced to a 3-place grid penalty, thanks to other people taking larger penalties. So, let's see what we can do then from P5 on the grid instead. It's 5 red lights and it's lights out. Here we go here to start the Mexican Grand Prix. It's been another great start. We really know how to nail the starts now, and that is Lewis Hamilton taken care of instantaneously. A little bit of contact there between myself and Lewis Hamilton, but now to make the drag down in towards turn 1. Ricciardo has taken the lead to the Grand Prix, but we're going to break a little bit later. We're going to go around the outside of all 3 of those cars, take the inside for turn 2 and also turn 3. That is a sensational overtake there, and you can see me just wiggling my wheel a bit. I was so gassed about that move that we go all the way around the outside. Normally at the start of a Grand Prix, you just see all of the cars hug the outside line and then, you just dive it down the inside. That time around, I was having absolutely none of it. Until the end of lap 2 then to start lap 3. We've now got the race lead and full control of the Mexican Grand Prix, but I need to be very, very wary because of a specific team, aka called Renault. Watch the gap in the top right. It was 1 second or so. Watch as we finish the end of this start-finish straight. It's coming down 8 tenths, down 7 tenths, down to 6 tenths. They gained nearly half a second on me in one full straight with no DRS. Ricciardo and that Renault in a straight line is a massive problem. Obviously through turns 1 and 2 and 3 I can actually gain back all that time because I'm so much more confident there. But I was very, very concerned that Renault had some great pace. On to lap 8 of the Grand Prix now. Luckily for me, Leclerc and Ricciardo went for a little bit of a scrap, which built me up a 2.5 second lead. Now I'm confident and comfortable and just driving my own race now at this stage as we try and press onwards. Gap now 3 seconds there. Vettel and Hamilton just in behind in that lot. We've now got a yellow flag though, so something's happened in the background. Someone is unfortunately going to retire from the Mexican Grand Prix. It's just a case of who actually is it. We get a little bit squirmish then on the exit of the curb there. It's not any of the front runners, so it's going to be someone a little bit further back. You can see the yellow flag just expanding towards the end of the straight, and it's Alex Albon in the Red Bull then that's out of the Mexican Grand Prix. His engine goes up in smoke, and Alex Albon's disappointing weekend just gets worse. I believe he was knocked out in Q2. There goes my teammate blasting past him with the Williams cars and the Haas cars following their way through. But a bad weekend for Red Bull in general, really. But we move to lap 10 of the Grand Prix now, and the gap to myself and Leclerc is 3.1 seconds. Very much staying at a comfortable pace. But now it's time for us to come in for our first stop of the Grand Prix and get off these set of soft tyres and strap on another set of soft compound tyres as we knock over the bollards, because quite frankly, it's a waste of my time. We don't need it. And now we're going to try and see if we can get a nice, good pit stop and get back out and have some fun. Leclerc and Bottas do stay out for an extra lap, which could help them. It could hinder them. We need to see if the undercut works. But fortunately, the boys are a little bit slow on their pit stop there. And we get out with a 2.7 second stop. Not the stop that we were looking for, but we still stay in front of our rivals. And in fact, Vettel and Hamilton, I believe, have leapfrogged Daniel Ricciardo. So that's going to slow them down a little bit as we now get in front of Giovinazzi in our stop. So it does mean that the other people behind us will have to overtake Antonio and also probably my teammate Jack Aitken in all of that, whereas we've got Norris and Stroll up ahead. So we might actually have to do a little bit of wheel-to-wheel combat as we try and pass Norris and Stroll. But unfortunately, they actually dived into the pits. And there is Leclerc and also Bottas that come back out. We set the fastest middle and final sector of the race so far, which is kind of promising for us. And I believe this is my fastest lap of the race, which I believe remains as the fastest lap of the race, actually. So let's ride on board with it, shall we? Because I felt it was just a great lap. So we go through turns 1 and 2 and 3, taking liberties where we can with the corners. You can see Vettel is catching Giovinazzi, and they've already dropped 7 seconds on myself now to set the fastest first sector of anyone so far. We got fortunate with the first sector because we have DRS throughout the entirety of the 2 straights there, taking a nice wide exit, using the green AstroTurf as a little bit of runoff, drop it down to 2nd gear, and then increase the traction straight away. Through towards here, drop it down into 5th, take 2 gears, drop it down, take a little bit of grass on the exit, and then this bit is absolutely amazing. This is where my car just fell on the ropes. We blasted through the middle sector there, and just so confident with the handling of the car. It's an all purple middle sector. We brake on the 100 meter board, probably could have braked around about 75 meter board, in between 150 to try and get the best amount of braking. This second part of the corner, be careful with the traction. You can lose the back end very, very easily. I took a nice early apex for the last quarter. If we come all to the start-finish line now, it is going to be a 1 minute 16.2, which does give us the fastest lap of the Grand Prix by over 1.4 seconds. Thank you very much. And on to lap 21 now. I was in a world of my own. I was having a lot of fun out here in Mexico, and funnily enough, this track never suits me, ever. But on this game, it does suit me. I was having so much fun. And we're coming in now for our second stop of the Grand Prix, onto a set of the medium compound tyres. Yeah, I was just relaxing at this point. Also, I thought I'd put it out there because I don't really show pit lane replay. In fact, I don't actually have any replay cameras for this one because my game crashed when I did the replay cameras, so that's fun. Another slow pit stop from the boys today. You need to stack it up a little bit. We're going to have some issues. If you're wondering, by the way, why I blast it in the pit lane like that, and obviously don't do the pit lane speed limiter and stuff, I have the pit assist on, because when I come into the pits, I simply take that as my chance to just take my hands off my controller, give my wrists and my hand a little bit of a rest, probably click my fingers as well, and then I'll just pick up my controller and get back out of it again. That's why I don't do it. I know it gains you time, but from my perspective, I'm not really that bothered. I'm more about just having a break when I'm coming into the pits. But from that point onwards, in fact, this entire Grand Prix, as a very big shock to me, I wasn't challenged at all. So on the final lap of the Grand Prix here, we take a clear-cut, fair, dominant race win here at Mexico. A track, like I said, I don't suit Mexico. Mexico and me, we don't get along. We ain't got that relationship, the Koreans and the Mexicans. But today, we clearly signed a treaty which allowed my car to work. Because it felt great to drive around here, I'll be honest with you. It was very, very calm, very composed. And the biggest change for me was making the car work in the middle sector. Because I knew that the cars in behind me had more straight line speed than me. That was guaranteed. And the fact is that I managed to get myself a little bit of extra straight line speed in the first place. Just to try and help out in that section. Gonna take a selfie and put that one on the Instagram post. Not the Instagram post. What do the Koreans use yes, it's the local military news. That's it. But yeah, I was more focused about trying to nail the middle sector and the final sector, and it clearly actually proved to be the better option. If I decided to pick straight line speed setup, you saw that Ricciardo and Leclerc and everything else were like 4 or 5 tenths of a second faster than me on the straight. But as soon as we got through the corners, the rotation and the grip that we had through the middle sector and the final sector, and even the first 2 corners of sector 1, we could gain 3-4 tenths of a second on them. So I was happy to lose all the time on a straight if I could absolutely boss it in the corners. And I did, and crucially, with my setup as well, not letting the tyres overheat, I was able to then look after the tyres and able to lean on them more and more in the stint, and it just really paid off. Vettel takes the lead of the World Drivers' Championship. He's now 7 points clear of Valtteri Bottas, with Lewis Hamilton now 12 points back in the championship, if I read that correctly. Indeed, I did. Leclerc 45 points back. And then in the Constructors' Championship, with that race win, we've now actually just moved in front of Red Bull Racing, who are having an awful second half of the season. Like, they're not really scoring that many points. It's not a case of me constantly beating them like hardcore. I mean, today, obviously, we had, the raw pace. I mean, Japan, we got lucky. But we've seen, they're getting knocked out in Q2s and stuff. They're just actually struggling for overall performance. And I had to give... I gave credit to Engine by mistake when I really wanted to actually give it to the aero department because the car just stuck, was planted, and it was great to see. The difference between this weekend and last weekend was, again, chassis work was very, very nice. And then in terms of the team being ecstatic, I mean, at the end of the day, they've got no choice because I'll sack them, as I've said many times, and that includes you, Jack. Okay. And as you can see in the rivalry versus Charles Leclerc, we get a nice full clean sweep, 5-2 on the Ferrari driver, and we close that gap now down to 13 points to 16 in Leclerc's favour. Of course, though, he is still in a Ferrari. I don't know what tracks are going to be able to suit me following forth in terms of Brazil and Abu Dhabi. Whether any of them will actually suit my car is a complete mystery to me, because like I said, I knew Japan wasn't going to suit me. It didn't. I said USA is going to suit me. I kind of struggled a little bit compared to my rivals. Mexico, I was coming into the Grand Prix like, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. I can't wait to have overheating tyres and screw up and just get on with the next Grand Prix. And I absolutely smashed it. So what's kind of cool for F1 2020, and it's something that I'm definitely still learning, is that I have no idea what tracks I'm strong at this year. My strongest tracks on 2019 are completely different on 2020 and vice versa. Some of my worst tracks on 2020 are actually becoming one of my best tracks to drive at. So I gotta take it with a pinch of salt. But anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed today's episode, feel free to drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. Shout out to my upgrade there that just failed for my major drag reduction. As you can see, that failed. I am going to rebuy it though and put it on the car, hopefully for Abu Dhabi, just to give us a little bit of something for that race. But until then, I'll see you next time. Take care all. Peace.